Hello everybody, welcome back to another video here on the Vibe Gaming channel. It is Hot Dog here, and recently I just got back to college, and what does that mean? A lot of free time. So what was I doing with that free time? Playing Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim. Probably my favorite game of all time, or up there with Minecraft. It is definitely a top tier game. Not without its faults though, and I'm seeing that we have recently gone on just about 2 years since Bethesda announced Elder Scrolls VI. I might as well talk a little bit about Skyrim's pros and cons, right? The commendations and criticisms. And without further ado, let's get right into it. I feel as if though Skyrim has been a hot topic for many RPG players because it is kind of a love-hate relationship with the game. It simplified a lot of things, making it more mainstream, but it also opened it to a wider audience to have more people enjoy the genre. And so in that regard, it did a pretty good job at bridging the gaps and even having casual players like this game. Now, one of the main reasons why I am thoroughly in love with this game is the crazy atmosphere. The absolute beauty of the game, the architecture, the environments, the caves. There's a lot of things going for it here, and I really think that a lot of companies could learn about how these atmospheres work. Now, I did also state in my Assassin's Creed video that Assassin's Creed Odyssey made the game because of how beautiful its world was, graphically and just through the architecture. And I'd say not graphically as much in this game because it's almost a decade old, but it's been a gorgeous game. It's got one of the coolest time periods in an RPG. It's being set in the medieval era. I think it's probably the coolest one. It is also happening during a civil war in the game, and there's dragons being let loose. Now, I also want to point out a quick mechanic of shouts. Never had been seen in a game before, and every RPG has its own magic system, right? And my friend pointed that out. And shouts are just a unique thing only to this game. Now, there are also some other slight pros here, like minor decision making. There's not a whole lot of choices in this game, but when you do have opportunities, it's refreshing. And in that regard, it does kind of dip its toe into decision making. There's so much character freedom. You can play any class, any race you want. If you want to be a dual-wielding Khajiit, you could do that. If you want to be a Nord that casts magic, you can do that. I love how you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and that's what made the game exceptionally fun. The game can also be very difficult. Now, I would say pausing the game in combat system and quick saving makes it kind of easy game. It's pretty easy to cheese. You know what I mean? Like cheese, just like walk around past the AI. That's not very good. But in the game, it does give you a good amount of difficulty if you want to. You can turn on legendary or master. That game is absolutely insanely hard with those difficulty settings, and in that regard, it is a little difficult if you want to be. There are a few unique bosses in the game. Now, this is in Skyrim, so it's all in one region, so the bosses in that region are going to be relatively similar, right? You got the Draugrs, you have the Dragon Priests, you have other Archmages. For the most part, it's a very simple, not a whole lot, but it's okay. It's a comfortable amount of blandness, right? It's like ketchup. It's just, you can dip a lot of shit in it, I also want to tip my hat off to the decent main quest line. Now, there's some quest lines that are just absolutely dog shit. Fallout 4's main quest line is completely dog shit, in my opinion, and I think Elder Scrolls did a fantastic job with theirs being decent. It didn't take the cake here, but it was a pretty good quest line. I also want to say that the side missions are somewhat unique. Now, it's two sides of the same coin here when you say there's some people are saying they're all very unique and special, and some people say it's three types of missions over and over again. I say it's a bit of both because there is some uniqueness, and regions of the map actually do change up how the game is played, but for the most part, they are kind of right. There are a lot of the same things, but a retrieval or fighting a boss and then retrieving something, they're all in a lot of RPGs, and I don't know how you can kind of get around that. So in that regard, I'd say it's a little bland, but for the most part, it does its job. The graphics are also pretty decent. Now, they're nothing special. The footage I'm playing to you is with a couple mods too, and it's still not fantastic, but it does hold up. And I would say that for the game, that for its time period, it's really working out quite well. Like I said, there's so much freedom, but that's not just how you build your character, but there's so much freedom with quests. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. So if you want to skip the main quest line, do all the side quests in the universe, get the max level and then do the main quest line, you can do that. Or if you want to rush right into the main quest line, you can do that too. It has an easy scaling system, so it's very simple. So it's easy to manipulate, yet it feels pretty good. I also want to say the dialogue is really good. Not in the sense that it's always crazy. I think New Vegas probably has a better better system for this. But I would say that in Skyrim, the fact that your character doesn't speak is pretty good because it means it's your own voice reading the contents of the quotes and interactions with the NPCs, which it kind of sets up the whole role-playing aspect of the game. And then finally I want to give a small minor pro to attention to detail, because obviously they did have to stuff this game out by 11/11/11, which is the best release date in the history of games, but I would say that they do have a lot of attention to detail. One of the main things is all these books. There are so many books in the game, there's so many journals, so much lore to explore, and I know many people who have read a lot of the books. They seriously recommend it. Another pro to the game is a lot of random things that happen to you, whether you are being attacked by a hired assassin from the Dark Brotherhood, or you're simply walking your way on a path and all of a sudden a dragon appears. I do love the random things that happen in the game. I really do think that changes up the pace, and you can tell different stories to your friends about what happens and when. Unlike games like such as Red Dead Redemption 2, where, you know, I want to highlight a Nakey Jakey video where he talks about how these scripted events actually happen to everyone. In Skyrim, they may happen to everyone, but it happens at random times in the character's lifetime, which means you never know when you're going to run into, you know, some cultists or something. So overall, that's more of an attention to detail, but appreciate the replayability of this game. And as I quickly mentioned, dragons are fucking awesome, okay? I don't care who you are. These dragons are dope looking. You being a dragonborn, I mean, it's really badass, and you are the chosen one, so it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. But the fact that you can suck a dragon's soul and then use his power to shout at people, it's so cool. I love this game for how much badassery happens and how much uniqueness there is to this game specifically. Now, obviously, with all these kind of pros, there are a couple cons as well. For one, the physics, as in every Bethesda game known to man, kind of fucking weird, kind of dog shit. You jump into a kettle, the kettle goes ape shit. It's just what it is. It is a buggy mess sometimes as well. There's many times where I had to load to a previous save because issues were arising left, right, and center. Now, crashing also happens quite often with the base game. The special edition definitely helps out with that, but still, there are still a lot of crashing issues that just randomly appear out of nowhere, and it's just, I don't really see it in other games as much as Skyrim. It is a little grindy, in the sense that, you know, it's an RPG, so it's gonna want you to grind out skills. However, some of them are a little more balanced than others. For example, the one-handed skills or blocking skills, you can generally get pretty easily just by playing the game. Now, smithing, on the other hand, is such a grind fest. If you calculate it out, it is very expensive, especially when you get to the higher levels around 50 or 60. It becomes an absolute grind fest to just buy your levels with gold, which is just takes a strain on all the income you have in the game. I also want to say that there are a good amount of voice actors, more than Morrowind or Oblivion. However, there needs to be more. When you get through a later part of your character, you do end up realizing that a lot of the voice actors are the same for characters, and you tend to see the same face with those voice actors, even if the NPC is different. It's kind of strange. It's just kind of, you know, it just kind of takes you out of the game a little bit. I also want to give a jab at the fact that you are the chosen one in this game, and it's kind of a bit of a cop-out more than anything else, because the chosen one idea is kind of a little icing on the top, but it's like the cherry in the shake at McDonald's, you know, when they used to have those. It's just something that no one really wanted. Like, you don't need it. It's just there. It just makes it look more shiny. But you end up like trying to get it with your straw or stab it with the straw, and you just can't get it. It's just leave it in there and throw it out. That's just kind of what the chosen one idea is. I think it's just kind of, you know, uninspired. Anyways, let's go to the climbing physics. Now, I want to say it's very strange how you can kind of scale any mountain you want. Frustratingly, if you spam the spacebar enough or spam the jump button on your a controller, you can go. I like the freedom that you can go anywhere you want by spamming jump up the mountains if you get it just the right spot. But it is also frustrating because the game is not meant for you to be like that, and yet you're still challenging its physics. I would say the worst part about this game is probably the fighting mechanics. Now, you don't usually play Skyrim for its fighting mechanics. You play for the atmosphere and the side quests and interesting characters. But these fighting mechanics stop so many people from playing this game a second time through. It devolves into a who has higher numbers slashing to death. Even blocking with a sword, or like a sword and a shield, or with magic, it becomes very, very repetitive very, very quickly, and I am not a huge fan of it. Now, I want to say that there's not a lot of armor customization with the base game. A lot of it is fixed with mods, but I just don't think it was more of an issue at the time, like cosmetically at least. But if I could customize my character more, I would have. So that's just a little, a little jab at that. I also want to talk about the boss AI being completely dog shit. Most bosses in the game you can manipulate simply by jumping onto a little structure. If you jump on a ramp, I once had to fight this one boss, and all I had to do was run up a ramp, and he could not get to me, and I ended up using a bow and arrow and killing him. So in that regard, the AI can be very unimmersive and just easy. I also want to say that they recycled the same cave texture for literally every cave, and not that it's crazy negative, because I think it works well because it's in Skyrim, so a lot of the soil is going to be looking relatively similar, but it does get boring, and you can tell that they save space for the disc, or they save space for the storage of this game by taking out textures like that. I also want to say that puzzles are the worst fucking things in Skyrim. If you've ever played Skyrim, and a lot of people have by this point, the puzzles are basically your graduation from kindergarten. If you can pass those puzzles, you have object permanence. You are not a child anymore, because any toddler could solve these puzzles, honestly, because it's so funny how these ancient Nords really think that going owl, bear, dragon, and then putting the claw in could hide all their secret shouts and shit like that, like all their magic. It's laughable. That's what it is. I also want to give a quick final shout out to Creators Club. Thank you, Bethesda, for making this an abomination of a cash grab. I know you put this in all your other Fallout games too, and I'm so happy you put it in Fallout 76, so it's even more of a shit show. But I just want to quickly say that you can get all your mods for free, and it's basically a travesty for anyone on console who wants to play any mod, because they gotta pay fucking money for your Creators Club bullshit. And finally, I want to talk about Elder Scrolls 6. Now, they did announce the trailer, again, like I said, 2 years ago, and, well, nothing has happened. They haven't said anything in over 2 years. We got radio silence here. They still want to work on their Stargate or Starfield, or whatever the hell Todd says it is going to be, but basing off their past few games, Fallout 76, obviously just a trash fire in a dumpster that is also on fire in hell. And then you have Fallout 4, which was kind of a regressive version of Fallout 3, both not great games, but, not terrible. Fallout 4 definitely had its issues and wasn't finished, but was better than Fallout 76, so they have been on a downhill slope. Bethesda has been lowered on the totem pole for reputation, and I think Elder Scrolls 6 may be its last straw. But overall, I think Skyrim did a pretty good job at broadening the experience of an RPG for the masses, and I think it has a lot that people can like about it. Obviously, there's a lot left out of other RPGs, such as Oblivion or Morrowind, but overall, it was a pretty good success. And hopefully, Elder Scrolls 6 can bring the same kind of fire that Elder Scrolls 5 gave us. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more of these videos, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, anything, say nice, hi, hello. And yeah, another video should be out pretty soon, probably another story time video. We'll see how things go. Anyways, guys, see you later. Peace.